Well, Toronto Police Deputy Chief Lauren Pogue is providing an update on officers' presence during demonstrations. Let's listen in.
In relation to global events. Our city experiences hundreds of lawful demonstrations every year, and in fact, there have been 250 since October 7th alone. Our officers are well trained to monitor these events and to limit, where possible, disruptions to our city, its businesses, and its residents. We respect people's charter rights, and we are always present to facilitate demonstrations that are lawful. In saying that, I do want to be clear. Lawful demonstrations do not include protesting inside privately owned spaces, which includes malls, blocking critical infrastructures such as our highways or our hospitals, or causing disturbances at the expense of other residents and visitors to our city. And it certainly does not include the intimidation, the harassment, or hateful behavior. We are aware of demonstrations planned in our city, both today and on Saturday, and officers will be present, and as always, they will continue to use discretion while policing and enforcing the laws in these very dynamic situations, taking everyone's safety into consideration. That said, anyone whose behavior crosses the line from lawful demonstration to criminality can be arrested, and that is either at the time of the event or in the days following. Please listen to police direction and be respectful of each other and our officers while they keep everyone safe. Thank you. I'll take any questions.
Can you give us an idea of the resources that are going into facilitating these demonstrations? You said 250 since October 7th. That's a very, that's a lot, and we know how big they are. And just how many officers and what kind of resources are going into?
Well, I won't speak to the number. We have dedicated officers that do this on a daily basis. They're extremely highly trained, but we have had to augment that. We've had to reprioritize and redeploy some officers. But our priority is always in being available to respond to calls for service from the community when they need us most. So it's required us to have really officers from across our entire city, including traffic services, even instructors at our college, and some of our investigative units as well, all contributing to keep this community safe during this difficult time.
Do you have a sense of out of those 250, how many have crossed the line? How many have been inside malls? How many have walked highways? How many have led to harassment? Versus ones that were completely 100% peaceful?
Well, I don't have numbers, but the vast majority of the protests have been lawful, and we are seeing sort of an increase by a very small number who are protesting with kind of more antagonistic behavior, certainly challenging our police officers as well. So, our expectation is that, again, we will facilitate lawful protests, but we expect everybody to be respectful and to respect our officers who are out there to keep everyone safe as well. And respectful of just everyone in our city who are trying to enjoy the holidays, get things done for Christmas and yeah, thanks.
Is there something specific that you saw online? Is it something that's come up in the past that prompted police to stand, before us like this, talking about demonstrations? Is there something in particular that you saw online that was concerning or
well, as I mentioned,
up today, or a certain message or a certain?
So I can say there is no threat to Toronto. Nothing has changed with respect to that. But again, we have seen some increasingly challenging behavior, and I think you're probably all aware of a video that we did see the other day where an officer was unexpectedly attacked from behind, taken to the ground, and suffered injury as a result of it. So, again, I'm here to remind everybody today that, we have an expectation of those who choose to show up to be respectful of one another and to our officers.
I did want to ask about that video. Just, I believe it's the one where the officer was pushed down and the video was captured of the arrest, showing other officers appearing to be kneeling on the guy's head and neck. I know police are saying that didn't happen. Can you just explain a little bit more of what was happening in that arrest and the views that you've seen that show that he wasn't, using the force of kneeling on the head and neck?
So I think we have to remember it's a very small segment of what actually occurred that day. As I just previously mentioned, our officer was attacked from behind unexpectedly. We were asking people to move out of the way so we could get a vehicle through And, we deal with these things very quickly, very dynamically to ensure the safety of our officers, and also not understanding what the motivation is with this person. Do they have weapons? What you saw was a very small part of what occurred, and it was dealt with very, very quickly. Again, in mind of keeping our officers safe, and that suspect was up off the ground very quickly and put into a police car and brought to the police station to be charged.
So there's no concern about excessive use of force?
No, the officers used as much force as was necessary, which is their training.
Sure, and just another question about another video that we've seen from a protest at the Eaton Center the other weekend, with people going in, busy holiday shoppers. What will the police response be if that happens again? We've often seen protesters, surrounding businesses and going into malls. So, you kind of put out a pretty strong message today saying that won't be tolerated anymore. So what will happen if the protests, on the weekend, the protesters start barging into malls again?
Well, we do enforce Trespass to Property Act, but that does give people reasonable ability to leave when they're asked to do so. And if they don't leave, they could be arrested. What we saw the other day again was what appeared to be somebody threatening a police officer. It wasn't, in fact. It was our officers using their best judgment and de-escalating that situation, keeping somebody who was antagonistic to the protesters apart. And, they make these determinations in very dynamic situations with the best interest of everyone's safety in mind. So, again, very, very busy time of year with shoppers. There's a ton of people in the malls. The last thing we want to do is to create a situation where somebody may get hurt. So when you do see criminal behavior, we don't always make an arrest at the time, but we certainly gather the evidence that we need to follow up after, investigate, and lay charges where appropriate.
We are one more question. Sorry.
Yeah, this is what my
Yeah, go.
You guys talked about having a visual presence in the community, all communities. So I want to ask a little bit about conversations you've had. I'm sure you are well aware of the people running a lot of these protests. Have you taken the time to having conversations with them, talk about conduct, what their concerns are? Have there been any conversations at all with them specifically?
Well, we do have very good rapport with protest organizers when we can, but we don't, we're not, they're not always representing everybody that shows up to these things. So, we do connect with organizers when we can to have an understanding of what they plan to do, give our expectations as well. But again, we can't control the behaviors of individuals who show up. I'm not going to speak to that. Yeah.
Sorry, just final question, I guess, if you don't mind. Just tomorrow, what we are hearing more and more that some pretty big protests are being planned on bridges, in malls, to stop people from traveling and so on. Are plans in place for tomorrow? Are police bracing for a really busy, big day tomorrow with a lot of disruption and possible protesting by malls?
We are aware, and we're monitoring everything as well, and we are prepared to respond to any disruption in our city. And again, I'm here to ask everybody who is wanting to protest to do so safely, to do so respectfully, and to listen to the officer's direction.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for attending today.
We've been listening to Toronto Police Deputy Chief Lauren Pogue providing an update on Toronto Police's presence during demonstrations. She goes on to say that lawful demonstrations are encouraged, but also lawful demos do not include inside private places such as malls and does not include intimidation or harassment.